Order of the Pleasant Grove City Council on this March the 1st, 2022, and welcome our council members who are all present here, and a lot of our staff and directors. And we do not have our city recorder with us tonight, but from our Community Development Department, we have Kara Kresser sitting in as our recorder this evening. Thank you, Kara, and we like to thank those who have joined us here from the public and for this evening. We'll start our evening off with a Pledge of Allegiance by Eric Jensen, after which we will have opening remarks by Councilmember Brent Bullock.
Ladies, please rise. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we come before you this night and we ask, Father, that thy Spirit would be with us as we go about dealing with issues and matters revolving the city. We are so grateful to be here. Ask that thy Spirit would be with us, that we would be cordial to each other, and that we would think of those individuals who are suffering throughout the world at this perilous time. Ask that thy Spirit would be with them as well, and we do this humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Eric and Brent. Now, go to item number 4, approval of tonight's meeting agenda. I don't believe, Scott, that we have any changes on our agenda.
No changes, Mayor.
No changes, so I ask for a motion to
Mayor, I'll
approve.
make a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
We have a motion from Councilmember Jensen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now take time to go to item number 5, our open session, and invite anyone to come forward and address the council at this time. And I would preface that if you're here for one of our public hearings, to wait and come in and address us at the time on the public hearing instead of not now. But I'd like to invite anybody else that has anything they'd like to address the council.
Yes, Mayor and members of the City Council, I'm pleased to be here this evening. I'm wearing 2 hats this evening. The first hat is that of a citizen. Several weeks ago, my name, by the way, is Mark Besant. Several weeks ago, we had a visitor, Dr. Peterson from Utah Valley University, come to our home. When she was coming up our steps, she tripped on the top step and fell and hit her head. We were deeply concerned about her condition as she laid there at our front door and wound up calling 911. And we had the most pleasant experience that evening as the ambulance came. Deon Giles was driving the fire truck, and the people that came to serve us and help us with Dr. Peterson that evening were absolutely wonderful. They weren't just professionally competent, but they were very kind to this sweet lady and helped get special help for her at that point and then transport her to the American Fork Hospital. I just wanted to register a compliment in regards to our ambulance and fire department. They have to serve us on our worst days and make things better for us, and wanted to register that. The second hat that I'm wearing is coming as president of the Pleasant Grove Irrigation Company and as chairman of the Pleasant Grove Metropolitan Water Board. To just say thank you for the work of Marty Beaumont. He's going to be leaving the city, much to our chagrin. He has absolutely been a marvelous public works director and leader in that particular area. With his leadership, I think Pleasant Grove could clearly be used as a model of cooperation between the city and irrigation companies. As I travel about, I hear constantly from cities and irrigation companies that there's an adversarial relationship that occurs in a city, and the city and the irrigation people are fighting all the time. That is exactly the opposite in Pleasant Grove, as we seek to preserve and protect our water rights and do the best we can. I think, again, as we're looking down the road at water restrictions and different kinds of concerns related to water, that I think Pleasant Grove could be used as an absolute model of cooperation in that regard. That is what I wanted to register as a compliment. If you'll excuse me, I want to go hear the President of the United States address our country. Thank you for all of you for your service, and also for the other staff members and employees here in the city of Pleasant Grove.
Thanks, E. Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Now to move to item number 6, our consent items. Oh, yes. Oh, is there anybody else like to come forward before I close? We'll now close our open session and bring it back up here to the front and move on to item number 6, our consent items this evening, which consist of our city council meetings of our February 4th, 2022 budget and planning meeting, our city council minutes for February the 15th, 2022 meeting, and B, to consider for approval payment request number 3 to Skyline Electric for the 1800 North, 100 East Signal Project, and C, to consider approval of payment request number 1 to J. Lynn Roberts and Sons for the Manila Booster Pond Station Project, and D, to consider approval reports for February the 23rd, 2022. So with that, if there, on these consent items, I ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent items as noted by you.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Anderson, a second by Councilmember Jensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to our board, commission, and committee appointments this evening, and we have several of those to do. First, we would like to start out with our Arts Commission new members. And who is here representing the Arts Commission this evening? Yes,
Tina.
so if you'd come forward, and in the new members, please come forward.
If you could sing while you're coming up, it would be fun. I know Tina could do that.
Our new members that are before us tonight to approve are Brady Hogard, Madison Fontana, Carolyn Moore, and Melissa Lindstrom. Looks like we have at least.
I'm not sure Carolyn, I've never met Carolyn. Okay,
So
I don't think she's here.
they were all invited, but they didn't know if they make. So go ahead and
Introduce yourself.
if you'd introduce.
I'll introduce myself quickly. I'm Tina, for those in the back, I'm Tina Fontana. I'm the chair of the Pleasant Grove Arts Commission, and I'm excited to have new members on the commission. So
Yes, I'm Melissa Lindstrom. I've lived in Pleasant Grove for 24 years now. I teach in American Fork, 2nd grade, and love the arts, and excited to help out in any way.
Oh,
Thank
wonderful.
Thank you.
My name is Brady Hogard. Thanks for your time today. New resident of Pleasant Grove as of last fall. Excited to be involved in the community, and I work professionally in the arts and music, so looking forward to contribute to the community and be involved.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thank you, Brady.
And Madison Fontana is actually my daughter.
We
I
figured.
conscribed her to be on the Arts Commission. She just recently graduated from SUU with her English degree, and so she is my cohort in crime for theater, painting, and sets and design. She's very artistic that way. So, and she's excited to help any way she can with websites and social media and that kind of thing.
Oh, wonderful.
We're excited to have her.
Well, I had 4 great interviews here, so I'd like to ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to appoint Brady Hogard, Madison Fontana, Carolyn Moore, Carolina? So Carolina Moore, and Melissa Lindstrom as Arts Commission members in Pleasant Grove City.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, and welcome. We'll now move on to item B, and it's consider for appointment of Wendy Shirley and Carla Patton as Planning Commission alternates. And Daniel, do you want to come up? And if they're here, they could come up and they could introduce themselves.
So we have the privilege to have a full planning commission now, and the mayor had the opportunity to interview them, and it looks like they're ready for the task, right?
That's right.
I'm gonna give her a couple of minutes to introduce herself, and if you guys have any questions, go for it.
Okay, I'm Carla Patton, and I've lived in Pleasant Grove, I think 23 years now, for a while. So I'm excited to get involved, a little more involved with Pleasant Grove and help out the city. And I'm a realtor, and yeah, I'm just excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Carla already attended a couple of our meetings just to check the water, to see how it was.
Before she made a commitment.
That's great.
For punishment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Okay, with that, I'd ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for the appointment of Wendy Shirley and Carla Patton as Planning Commission alternates.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jensen, second by Councilmember Lamone. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, Daniel, we do have a full planning commission now. That's official. So anyway, we have no presentations this evening on I. We'll move into our public hearing items. And we start with our first one, which is 9A. And I'll remind those who have come here this evening that this one just deals with requiring driveways and not for the development itself. So we're just changing some standards here, and Daniel will explain that. Director Cardenas.
Mayor, Council, it's a pleasure to be here in front of you guys. And we haven't had a meeting with that many people. It's just exciting to see how many people are interested in what's going on with our community. As the mayor introduced this item, what we're doing today, or the item that we're looking at right now, is a code text amendment. A code text amendment, and I'm gonna show you three images, three aerial views of three different developments, because the language, it will be easier. I'm a very visual person. We're gonna take a look at images, and that helps us a lot. That's Cambria development, what we have in our city right now. So we have a code in our city for multifamily developments, and in regards to the parking of what's going on with townhomes or apartments, we require, or code says that we require 2.5 parking stalls per unit. That's all it says. It says we require 2.5. Out of those 2.5, 2 parking stalls should be in a carport or in a garage, and the other 0.5 is what we use for visitor parking. So if we translate that into an actual development, and let's put a development of 10 units, just to make the math better. If we have 10 units, if someone proposes a 2 rows of townhomes with 5 units on each side, 10 units, the total amount of parking that we will require will be 25 stalls. It will be 20 for the residents, 2 for each unit, and 0.5 that goes toward the visitor parking, okay? That's how it is right now. That's how our code is right now. What staff is proposing is to amend that and to change that, and now we will require, but if we take a look at Cambria, for example, again, so it's 2.5, we're not requiring carports either. So those don't have carports. Here's another example. Sorry, driveways, my bad, driveways. We don't require driveways, okay? Here's another example of what a development looks like. This one does have carports, but still have no driveways. So for every unit right here, we will require 2 parking stalls in the carport, and for visitor, 1. I mean, 0.5. Again, if we go back to our example of 10 units, we get a total of 25 parking stalls. So the proposed code changed that. First of all, the proposed is to add driveways for every unit. So every unit, every townhome unit now should have a driveway of at least 22 by 20. Every unit needs to have a driveway. And that driveway will not count toward the parking requirements, okay? So now, if we take a look, if we think about it, we usually can use a driveway, and that's what driveways are. We use those driveways for parking. If we go back to our example of 10 units in a development, we will still require the 2 parking for each unit, plus the 2 cars that will go on the driveway, that's 4, plus we'll go to 0.3 instead of 0.5 for visitor parking, assuming that now people will use that driveway more than the visitor parking. However, when we put the numbers, the total parking in the existing code, for 10 units, we park 25. In the proposed code, for 10 units, we can park 43 cars. So doubles almost the number of parking that we can have. So that's what the proposal is. The language is like this. So now we require 2.33 parking spaces per unit. For a townhome product, now we'll require them to be garages, not carports anymore, but inside garages. Each unit will have the 2 cars plus the driveway, because now each residential unit shall have a driveway. And we have the dimensions. We just amended a little bit the dimensions for the garage, but in once it boils down, it goes to that. So again, the current requirements, it's 2.5, now goes to 2.33, but now we require driveways 22 by 20. That's what the requirement, what the proposed text amendment is, and this applies for the multifamily units in the CS2 zone. That's what I have, Mayor and Council.
Any questions for Daniel, Council?
Just one question. So I know that most of these multi-unit housings, especially condos, they have HOAs. Is there a requirement that we are putting in the CC&Rs that allow people or mandate people, I guess, to park the cars in the garage? Because ultimately we know with townhouses, typically they don't have basements, so garages become storage. And which means that what would be effectively be doing is that people would just be parking now on the driveway, and we're cutting our parking, our guest parking down a little bit. So is there HOA requirements that we can place in the CC&Rs?
Yes.
That will allow people to park in the garage?
Yes.
Okay, how does that work? Just
So we can do it. I know for a fact that we did it on a senior housing overlay. They built some garages, and then we could go and say, hey, you know what, it's right here that it needs to be, you need to free those and empty them because they need to be there for parking of vehicles only. So there's that document. However, that's the HOAs is in charge of enforcing it. We just have to remind the HOA to enforce that.
is that a code enforcement from our side that we could do?
No, it's a civil matter
Okay.
because the CC&Rs are enforced by civil.
Any other questions?
So is that enough? Is that enough parking?
Okay. Thanks, Daniel.
I'd be interested.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Before I stand up, just sit down, sorry. This item went to the Planning Commission, and it received a unanimous recommendation of approval.
Thank you. I'll now open the public hearing to consider for adoption ordinance 2022-8, amending City Code Section 10-11D-16E, multifamily residential development requirements by modifying the provisions and requirements for multifamily developments within the CS-2 commercial zone in the citywide. And as Director Cardenas has outlined, and now would open it up to any public who would like to come forward and address the council on this amendment. I see no one coming. Oh, we got one. And please just state your name.
So, my name is Michael Carter, and I'm one of the co-founders of Tablet This Way. And first, I want to thank you guys, all of you, for your great service for the city. I know you guys work really hard for all of us. In 2015, my partner Al and I, and some other partners, sold our company, Vital Smarts. And the time we sold it, we decided, let's see what we can do in Utah County to help make a difference here. That was our goal. And we had an opportunity. We called a number of different organizations up, Utah Food Bank, Utahns Against Hunger, United Way, some others, and met with them and said, how can we make a difference? And as we met with the Utah Food Bank, they said our greatest unmet need in Utah, and actually the whole state of Utah, is in North Utah County, specifically Pleasant Grove and American Fork. And so within a year, we'd opened up our food pantry, and we currently provide food assistance to about 3,500 people per month. About 900 of those are from Pleasant Grove. And about half of those are children. So that's something that is really dear to our heart, to making sure that the children are taken care of. So we want to have a location. It's important to us to be close to the people that we serve. We don't want to be in Lehigh, where most of our population that we serve is here, and in American Fork. For about 4.5 years now, we've been working with Colliers to try to find a location, a permanent location. And it's been tough to find one. This is the one in the Water Gardens area, is the very first one that we've been able to find that would meet our needs. We have a very specific requirement that's a challenge for us, and that is that we have to be really close to a bus stop. If you think about Pleasant Grove, that means that basically we have to be between Macy's on State Street and the American Fork border on State Street. We can't be on Pleasant Grove Boulevard near the freeway. We can't be on Geneva Road, so that makes it challenging for us. With this building, one of the reasons that we're looking for a building is that we can be able to own instead of rent, which will cut our expenses way down. We'll be able to have other places that we can rent as well to other businesses, and that'll help us cut our expenses down as well. So our request is that you consider and allow us to build in Pleasant Grove, be near our clients, and also near all the people that volunteer in Pleasant Grove as well. And we hope you'll consider that tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Does anyone else like come forward and specifically to the parking requirements for
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I forgot to mention that in order to be able to make room for the driveways, because we can see the driveways are 22 by 20, there are other changes in the code. For example, so this is something that I work with a developer. Instead of requiring 25 feet setback, now we reduce it to 20. So it was kind of like a give and take type of situation. So we work on that. There's another part of the code where we, for X amount of frontage, we will require 3 types of housing, and the applicant requested to reduce that to be able to do only one type of housing, only townhomes and so on. So there's a list of changes on it, but most of them stem from the requirement that the city wants of the parking, of increasing parking, therefore reduces the space for some other stuff.
Thanks for clarifying that, Daniel. Anyone else like come forward? If not, we'll now close our public hearing on adoption of ordinance 2022-8, bring it back up to the council. And council, do you have any further discussion on it? If not, I'd ask for a motion.
I'd make a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-8, amending City Code Section 10-11D-16E, multifamily residential development requirements by modifying the provisions and requirements for a multifamily developments within the CS-2 commercial cell zone citywide.
We have a motion by Councilmember Bullock. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Jensen. This will be a roll call vote, and we'll start out with Councilmember Anderson. Yes. Councilmember Bullock.
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone.
Yes.
And Councilmember Williams. Yes. Thank you. Passes unanimously. With that, we'll now move on to 9B. This evening, a public hearing to consider for adoption ordinance 2022-9 to apply the CS-2 commercial cells-2 zone to approximately 6.1 acres on property currently zoned C-N neighborhood commercial zone located approximately at the northwest intersection of Garden Drives and 600 West, Mud Hole neighborhood. Joe Smith is the applicant and Director Cardenas.
Mayor, Council, the application that you introduced is for a rezone. So the applicant works with ICO Development. He's proposing to rezone a 6.1 acres of property located in this area right here from the current neighborhood commercial zone to a CS2 zone. And the reason, both zones are commercial, but the reason of the change is because the CS2 zone allows for a residential component. First, let's start talking about the current stage of this area. So just for reference, and so people in the back can see, I'm gonna use the mouse. Water Gardens is right here. This is where we have Water Gardens, Macy's across the street. We have a State Street along right here. The access to the property is through this street right here and then taking Garden Drive. Okay, so the front, this property, or the property is proposed to be rezoned frontage Garden Drive. This road eventually is proposed to keep going right here and join 1300 West. So it's gonna be a frontage road parallel to the train tracks. Okay, so what we have right now, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Again, we have the property that is proposed to be rezoned, which is these 4 parcels that we can see right there. Those 4 parcels. And right now, the use for that is neighborhood commercial. So no residential uses are permitted in the entire area. However, if we take a look, there's an overlay right here delineated by this pink line. This pink line is the senior housing overlay, which is similar to what we have across the street right here. So, in other words, at this time, at this moment, if community development receives an application for an apartment complex right here for senior housing overlay, it will be permitted. It's already zoned for it. The density that we have for a senior housing overlay is 24 units per acre. If it's 24 units per acre and the area delineated within this pink line is 2.6 acres, it gives a total of 62 units. Again, at this point, it is a permitted use to build a probably 4-story tall, 5-story tall building with 62 units for senior overlay. What the applicant is proposing is to not take advantage of that senior housing overlay, but instead of that, rezone 6.1 acres along right here and eventually develop that land into a series of townhomes. That's why he wants to rezone it to the CS2 zone, because the CS2 zone has a residential component. The density for the CS2, which is the zone that the applicant is pursuing, is 12 units per acre. It's less than the senior housing overlay. However, the area, instead of being only 2.6, is going to be increased to 6.1. If we do it like that, it's a total maximum of 73 units, so 73 townhomes. That's what the applicant is proposing. Now, at this point, he's not proposing a site plan. We don't have a site plan, but that's what staff is envisioning, because that's the maximum density that can be put into that property.
Sorry, Daniel, just to clarify.
Just wait till
Okay.
he finishes his presentation.
These two parcels, the applicant also owns this parcel right here, and also owns this parcel right here. Those are not proposed at this point to be rezoned. They're going to be left as they are. Again, there's a difference of what is allowed right now in terms of units. Right now, 62 units will be permitted as senior housing overlay. In the proposed rezone, the applicant can build up to 73 townhomes. Now, that's the maximum. Now, with the requirements that we just did in regarding the size of the driveways and stuff like that, it may come to less than that, but that's the maximum. That's if we count the townhomes. However, he can do a couple of one on top of each other instead of next to each other, and he can go up to 73 units per acre. So that's what the proposal is. So that's the proposal from the applicant. Again, the total property, and I might be corrected by this, but I think the total property, it's above more than 9 acres. It includes the 2.6 right here, the 6.1 left out, and from this one and that one is the 2.6 left out. Okay? So that's what I have, Mayor and Council. I'm ready for questions.
Okay. Council, Sid, I'll give you the floor.
You're saying 73 units total or 73 in addition to the 62?
No, total.
73
Because
total?
when we apply the new rezone, the CS2, if applied, these will be eliminated. Okay, so it will be either or. This item went to the Planning Commission, and the recommendation from the Planning Commission was 4-1 in recommendation of denial of the property. The reasons why, and is because number one, there was a comment that there's a study that may happen right here that may change this intersection, facilitating or helping out a little bit with the traffic flow. And number two is because the vicinity is all commercial, and my planning commission, the planning commission, the planning commission is concerned about losing spots to residential that are already zoned commercial. Okay.
Any other council members? Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor.
With that, we'll now open our public hearing and invite anybody to come forward and address the council on this. And I will tell you that we will allot you 3 minutes per person who comes forward to speak on this. So this time, please come forward.
Mayor, did we want the applicant to speak first before we do the
Yeah,
public hearing?
let's do that. Is the applicant
I
here?
think
Would you
generally
come
that's how
forward?
we do it.
He was on his way anyway.
Connect, Daniel.
You have the same one?
I don't, yeah, HDMI, not that one.
I think it's coming up.
Okay, there we go. Good evening. It's nice to see you all again. Just quick background of the site. I know I've come to the city council a couple of times over the past few years, but we've owned this site for roughly 10 years. As Daniel mentioned, we did have a site plan approved at one time, and have struggled to find retailers to come to this site, given several factors. Access is just one of them. And I did come 2018 and again in 2020 to request a rezone similar to what we're requesting now. And seemed that the council was open to it, but still wanted, some commercial built now. And as Mike with Tabitha's Way came up, Tabitha's Way approached us and asked if we were willing to sell a portion of our site. We typically do not like to sell anything, but given the council's appetite for commercial, we entertained that and have had discussions over the past several months along with city staff. And so, a quick clarification, Daniel, we are actually only requesting to rezone 5.6 acres. I'm not sure where the discrepancy came there, because Tabitha's Way has requested to take 2.5 acres. And so Tabitha's Way has been working with their architect, Curtis Miner, to design a site, and they are currently planning to build a 15,000 square foot facility for themselves in addition to 9,200 square feet of multi-tenant retail to be leased out. And their plans are to start immediately, and we have agreed to sell to them contingent on getting a rezone to the CS2 zone. And as Daniel outlined, we will retain the 1.64 acres on the bottom, and we'll plan to build some commercial space there. We hope that we're somewhat satisfying what the council has asked in the past. We feel like it should be a home run, we hope, for the council and for the city. And it seems that the timing has aligned for Tabitha's Way and for us. And we're hopeful that we can get this done. So available for any questions that you might have.
Any questions, council?
Yes, Mayor. So Josh, is that right? Or
I'm
are we-
Stephen. Josh
Stephen?
is one
All
of our
right.
associates.
So you said, pointing up here, what I'm hearing, it's a all or nothing. Is that correct? You're not willing to parcel that off to Tabitha's Way and sell that for their commercial use? Yes or no? Or
Correct. It doesn't really benefit us to sell, just to sell. It's a family-owned company. They like to be long-term owners and holders.
So let's say you got this, hypothetically, we gave you this rezone, you would then sell that parcel off then, though?
Correct.
To Tabitha's Way.
Tabitha's Way. Correct.
All right.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Now this, Mike, this kind of ties in with yours. You previously came up, so it kind of ties in good now. So thank you for bringing that up earlier. Anyone else like to come forward and address the council?
My name is Matthew Hailstone. I live actually, I'm not sure if we can show a map, but just west of the Garden Theaters is a lot that lines my home. That was zoned as a general commercial lot. We did not like that, but that's what it got eventually zoned to. This proposal here, where you have a C2, was it commercial zoning, or what is it? What does the S stand for?
Currently neighborhood commercial.
Yeah, currently neighborhood commercial, and my time's going quickly, but I just wanted to understand what is the purpose of the neighborhood commercial zoning? And in my opinion, it is to protect the residential areas from the type of commercial that can be built. I personally feel, and forgive me if I'm direct, that Pleasant Grove has neglected this neighborhood in a lot of capacities in protecting these residents from the type of zonings that's going on here. And if we want to protect them against what type of commercial that can be built, make sure that we understand the right zoning, that it is gradual in its intent for the commercial and the residential to be compatible together. I don't think large story buildings are compatible in a residential area. I think that is a severe neglect that the commercial general south of my home in that area west of the Garden Theaters was zoned that way. And what do? I need to go to the builder and say, can you put these evergreen trees that are 30 feet tall to protect my privacy in whatever they want to build there? So I'm concerned with the type of zoning that the CS2 is going to have there, and what is the purpose with a neighborhood commercial zone? Let's be consistent with that purpose is my comment.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like come forward?
Jim Adams, I live over off of 1300 West and 600 North. I'll try to get this under 3 minutes. Hopefully someone will yield their time in case I don't. So basically, here's my concerns. First and foremost is water and sewer impact on the city. Our system is already suffering. I know that we have plans to improve that, but they're not improved right now. Over in my area, we have half a dozen to a dozen water line breaks in a half a block area every summer. And let water department know that there'll be one of them probably next month. We already have that issue, so we're going to add to that issue by adding more strain on that as well as a sewer. The traffic impact should speak for itself. If anybody in this room has driven between 1300 West and 2000 West, which is 7 blocks between 4 and 6 p.m., it takes you up to 15 minutes. That's going to increase. Turning left off of southbound State Street onto eastbound Center Street, you're not going to be able to turn in there because everyone's going to be turning on 600 West to get on the Garden Drive to go home. The school impact, once again, probably needless to say. Mount Mahogany is already overcrowded, over 40 kids in some of the classes. I know the city doesn't have direct control of the school. That's an Alpine School District thing. Nonetheless, we have that issue, and we'd be contributing to more of that. The impact on the police and the fire. I'm sure all you guys know that we are way understaffed on our police and fire department. Incredibly understaffed. We should be 75% higher. We have 4 officers per 10,000 residents. That's scary. You know what high-density housing brings? More crime, more need for it. Whether it's small crime of cars being broken into, or it's major crimes of domestic violence, it still comes in. We need to have the resources to control that before we start to increase the city and bring more people in. Let's control what we have. Our detectives right now, what do we have? 3 or 4 detectives that are full-time? They all have over 50 cases each? That's a lot. And that's not a slam on our PD. That's a slam on their resources that they have available because they don't have the money to hire more people. So they may not want to build on the other parts right now, but they will. All the other zoning, once you get one area zoned, everything that borders it is almost an automatic zone for whatever it borders. I've done this. I'm a general contractor. I've been in these meetings on the opposite side. I know how it works. So you start to do that all the way to 1300 West. So it's not 72 units, it's 210 units, it's 280 units. And to compare it with senior living, seniors aren't sending their kids to school. Seniors aren't out and about working hours most of the time during the day. That doesn't put the impact that families of 4 to 6 people per unit as 1 to 2 people per unit puts. So, does the tax revenue justify it? Will the additional property tax compensate what the additional strain on the city is? Those are the decisions that you guys need to make.
Thank you. Anyone else like come forward?
It's hard to hear in the back, so I'll try to speak into the microphone. Mayor and council,
Hey,
thank
would
you.
you give us your name?
Jason Dodge. I'm a commercial real estate developer and broker. I've worked in Utah County for nearly 30 years in purely commercial development. I'm very close friends with Mike Carter and Al Switzler, who are here today that have the Tabitha's Way organization and work through that. They approached me years ago to try to help them find a site that would work for their location. And then I approached ICO with the proposal that was just presented and just shown to try to make this work. A few thoughts. I know anytime something is proposed to mayor and council, there's always opposition. And that's why you guys make the big bucks. And no matter how you vote, you're probably going to be demonized, and you chose the wrong way. But when you look at this site, many times, probably 3 or 4 times over the last 20 years while this project has been here, I personally have tried to develop this site. Not with my project, but with other people's money and their ideas. And it always failed because of one reason, the railroad tracks. if there was a way to get rid of with those tracks, this property is perfect for a huge commercial development, similar to what's across the street with Macy's. National retailers will not go here because of that one fact of needing to go around the tracks. We approached ICO, and I've not worked with ICO before in the past. I have no connections with them at all, and asking if we could buy 2 or 3 or 4 acres for Tabitha's Way. They were open to the idea, but they asked for our help to work in conjunction with them to get this rezoned for a project that would work for the city by lowering density from what was already approved, and from 24 units in that senior housing down to 12, and possibly help with some of the need right now in the community for affordable housing, as well as get some commercial that the city requires. And this would be a retail commercial project. Tabitha's Way would occupy a large portion of it, but we would have nearly 10,000 square feet of retail space to the east of their project that would remain retail. And I think would be a catalyst to maybe be able to help develop the remainder of the property to the south, as well as the frontage road that goes to the west by being the first project in. I think this is a good move, personally.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Al Swissler with Mike Carter. I'm the co-founder of Tabitha's Way. I want to just say first that Jason Dodge works pro bono with us. Bless his heart. It has been a long search, and we do have specific requirements that make it very hard for us to build a facility. I will say that there are a lot of dynamics that go on in this kind of situation. One of the dynamics that doesn't change is hunger and food insecurity. It doesn't take a vacation, it doesn't take breaks. It's been consistent, and we serve a lot of people every month. When you look at that facility, when Jason talked to ICO offered us a position that was different in that acreage there. And when they found out our needs, they gave us the location closest to the bus stop so we would qualify. I also believe that whatever they did, ICO would make more money than if they sell it to our portion to us. So again, there's lots of complexities. We're not trying to create difficulty. We're trying to find a solution to a pressing problem that exists here and in every other community in Utah County, including the 10 cities that we serve in the North Utah County. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come forward?
Hi, my name is Teresa Casper. I have lived in Pleasant Grove for 25 years, and I am, quite frankly, fed up with all the multi-high-density housing that's going in this community. I have personally spoken to a couple of you on a couple of occasions, and on those occasions, I've been told, we're not going to approve anymore. There are some already approved that will go up, but we're not going to approve anymore. And here we are at a hearing to approve zoning so that more can go in. And in my backyard, I'm not happy with it. I agree 100% with the second gentleman who spoke. It's going to impact the school system. Mahogany already has 40+ students per class. It's overcrowded. The traffic on that intersection is insane. You can't make a left coming off of 600 West onto Center to save your soul. So what we do is we go up the other street past the cemetery and the pipe plant, and that road is crap. It's all potholes anyway. So it's gonna affect traffic, it's gonna affect crime. Multifamily housing brings crime. That's just a fact. I don't want crime in my backyard neighborhood. I don't want more crime. There's already enough here. So my feeling is the city needs more businesses. They don't need more people. I know at the meeting last week it was mentioned that there's lots of people that want to move here. Well, Pleasant Grove already has more people than they have the business to support it with the tax revenue businesses can bring in. We need more businesses here. What needs to be on that property is a bakery, some nice restaurants, an ice cream shop, some units where there can be boutiques, that type of thing. Something kind of maybe nice with a little bit of a courtyard and one of the outdoor, fire pits that they have in the winter like some of these other places have. We do not need more multifamily, high-density resident or housing in this city. We have enough people here. No more, please. I beg you, please, and especially not in my backyard. I don't want to be looking out my backyard at a high-rise building and have no sky out my windows. So please, do not approve this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I was nervous. I've never done this before, so. Jason Belknap. I also live right there, just on the other side of this housing. And while I agree with a lot, pretty much everything these guys are saying already, the reason I'm up here is because we don't get to vote back there. We just have to be in front of you. So this is casting my vote as a nay with this development. And I'm glad somebody brought up the railroad tracks because I hadn't really even thought of that before. And to put more housing with, I'm not saying it's all going to be full of kids, but the likelihood of it with kids and railroad tracks usually don't mix too well. And then just the last thing for me, the higher the building, the more people are going to see me in my backyard when I'm sunbathing, and I don't like to wear clothes when I'm sunbathing. And I think that's highly frowned upon with little kids in there, is all I'm saying. So,
Thank you. Okay, we'll do our last call.
John Johannesmeyer. I live in the Mud Hole area. It's nice to be here. When they mentioned the railroad tracks and you're putting in townhomes that have kids and stuff like that, I just see that being a total disaster zone. Kids playing outdoors with trains going by, that spells death. And to me, it's not worth it, okay? You're putting people's lives at stakes, little kids' lives potentially. Now, I don't think that track gets a whole lot of trains coming through there, but how many lives does it take to die for one kid to say, we screwed up bad on that one? Commercial is fine. I'm not worried about having, like Teresa said, other commercial stuff there. But kids should not be around railroad tracks. Please save kids' lives.
My name is Brad Beachel. I've been a resident for 22 years. I live right behind the Water Gardens Theater. So as it's already been said, it's just a bad idea. It's going to cause our property taxes to go up. I saw in the docket that you guys are going to be increasing your wages, including the mayor's. How are you going to do that? Without businesses, it's just going to raise property taxes. And I don't know if you saw on the map, they had one road. Traffic's already bad. Even if we put another road all the way down there, that's not going to be enough. This is just a bad idea. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
My name is Greg Bush. I also am a resident right behind this parcel of land. I think we've heard a lot of good reasons why the people around this area don't want to do it. I've only heard one good reason to do it, and that's to support a charity. I kind of feel like that was leveraged in there to sort of strong arm the residents into being okay with it, because we don't want to look like we're saying no to a charity. Making it an all or nothing deal seems a little bit like we're being kind of put over the barrel, because we want to do something good for Tabitha's Way. We like them. We like what they do. We support them. But do I want to have a 5-story building right there just to get that? I already have to deal with the dumpster being picked up at 5:30 and 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, I don't need 4 more dumpsters out there getting picked up and waking me and my kids up at, honestly, earlier than any of us want to be awake. And I venture to say that if it was in any of your backyards and the dumpsters were clanging around that early, consistently, waking you up, waking your babies up, I think something would be done. And we've tried calling, and so, not, you know, I understand that sometimes those things, you guys don't have the power to just mandate and say, you know, I'm gonna fix it. But I think this will be compounding that problem that already exists, and I don't think it's a good idea. I would love to see Tabitha's Way get a new facility, but not at this cost.
Thank you.
My name's Andrew Davis. I'm an 11-year resident of Pleasant Grove, just off of 1300 West and 600 North. And I just want to remind you guys, as I'm sure you well know, that one of the reasons why people want to move here is because of what we already have. One of the things that they do not see is how underfunded our road rebuilding is. Often the vast majority of our roads are underkept, they're in poor condition. So we do not currently have the infrastructure to support a larger base of people, even with the property taxes that they would add to the area. Pleasant Grove needs to evaluate what we currently have and figure out what kind of proportions need to be kept between residential and commercial areas, and make sure that we do not overpopulate the area to make it, I don't want to live in Salt Lake. That's why I'm not there. That's why I'm here. So we need to try to preserve that feeling of the neighborhood that we have and try to continue it, to try to make it a place where people continue to want to come to, because they want to have what we currently have. So we need to keep that balance.
Thank you. Well, we'll do a last call.
My name is Mike Daniels. I own water gardens, and I'm a resident of Pleasant Grove for 30 years. I like Tabitha's Way. I think that would be an ideal project, and frankly, the theater benefits either way with this call. If you put residential in there, we get more patrons. If you put commercial in there, we get more patrons coming in because they're associated with the other businesses that are in there. As far as the height of the buildings and what it will do to the people that already have single-family homes there, maybe pulling the buildings forward, bringing them closer to State Street rather than pushing them so far back against the wall that they're looking into the neighbor's yard sunbathing. That just doesn't sound right to me. But you know, overall, like I said, we're going to benefit either way. Development is what we need there to draw people in to come and share the experience of having fun in Pleasant Grove. And we are one of the businesses that pays a lot of taxes. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Last call.
Hi, I'm Eileen Johannes-Meyer. I know my husband already spoke, but so we live in that neighborhood, and I just am mostly, well, I'm concerned about all of the things that have been mentioned before, the schools and the utilities and the water resources and our ability to provide services, police, fire, and things like that for additional people there. But mostly it's the traffic, that intersection between the corner of Center Street and 600 West and then the Pleasant Grove Boulevard and State Street or whatever. There are frequent accidents there. That's how I, try to pull out of my neighborhood. And like they said, now we're trying to go around the cemetery and try to get out of our area and stuff like that, because there's just, so to add more traffic that just sort of has a one-way into that area and one-way out, it's, and coming and going at all times of day. I mean, the one thing about Tabitha's Way is their services are usually only open from 11 to 2, Tuesday through Saturday. So, that would be one thing that wouldn't impact people as bad. But then, if it were people living there in residences and stuff, that would be an entirely other thing, because people would be coming and going all, times of day and night. And so that would, the traffic, it's just a very bad intersection already, and to compound that with additional housing there, I just think that would just be awful, and so it wouldn't be very feasible. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we see no one else coming forward. We'll now close our public hearing and bring it back up to the council for any further discussion. Council?
I'm a Tabitha Way fan.
So am I.
You know, I think what's interesting about this is that we've got a commercial developer that wants to come and utilize this property, which was what we've wanted for many years. I think strong arm was probably an appropriate term. I think I just don't, contingent, it just doesn't feel right that we're allowing commercial development to come in contingent upon the zoning of residential. That just doesn't feel right. I would hope that ICO would enter into an agreement with Tabitha's Way to sell that property, regardless of what their zone is. Disappointing that ICO would put that burden on Tabitha's Way to accomplish that.
Thanks, Mayor. Probably the same sentiments. It was talked about commercial is not viable in this area, and I think it's been said that yet. And that's why I asked the question of Stephen with ICO. It's a all or nothing thing, and I don't like that. I don't like being strong-armed into a certain decision when we all love Tabitha's Way and what they do for all our communities, right? You have a viable option available to you right now that you could sell to Tabitha's Way. You could make this work and make your own project work on its own merits and come in and approach us on a separate issue on this. And while I'm at it, I'd almost say we get rid of the senior overlay that's up against that fence, the height and all that, right? And we make it work for a commercial use, so.
I agree. I agree that we should remove the overlay.
Anyone else? Council?
Yeah, and that was said very nicely. The funny thing is that Al and Mike were gonna bring a bakery and some nice little shops in there. It's exactly what we wanted. I agree with Mike. There's probably a win-win here. I've been on Planning Commission for 4 years, City Council for 8. I've never had a developer come in and try to hold hostage something that we love to get what they want. And I am so disappointed.
Okay, any other? Sid?
I agree with what's been said, especially the impact to schools, traffic, crime. I don't believe the access, I mean, it's been an issue in the past, but moving forward, there's a lot of places I go that I have to make a bunch of turns and go out of my way, and I still go there because it's a destination point, and people do that with water gardens, and they'll continue to do that as commercial comes in. So I'm in agreement with what's being said. I would love to find and keep Tabitha's Way in our community. I know you're on the border of American Fork, Mike, in Pleasant Grove, but I'd love to find a place for you in Pleasant Grove if this does not work out, and ICO does not allow that. But if they can sell you a portion, I would love to do everything we can to make sure you stay in our community because the service you provide is a huge benefit. So I hope we can make that work.
My nature is not to give in when somebody gives me it's all or nothing. And when this came before us, my position was already made up. And I would like to respond to this issue of you folks there regarding commercial retail. We have tried, and previous councils have tried, numerous things to bring retail to Pleasant Grove. We haven't gotten to the point where we'll give them a reward if they'll come here, but we've practically done that. We have attempted, and if you look around in the vacant areas, for example, State Street and all of that area that's now turning into commercial, why aren't everybody flocking here? Well, it's a problem that we have got to address. So we are attempting to resolve the issue of commercial. But under these circumstances, I would not approve it.
Thank you. Well, with that, if there's no other comments from any of the council members, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to deny for adoption ordinance 2022-9 to apply the CS2 commercial sales zone located at approximately at the northwest intersection of Garden Drive and 600 West.
I would second that denial.
I'll ask legal counsel. That's different than what we have written in our, so can we go with that? Or do we just not vote on them?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Dies for want of a motion
It's,
to approve.
We just vote down the,
right. I
Okay.
think it's fine the way he's phrased the motion.
okay, all right. We have a motion by Councilmember Jensen, who was the second?
Me.
Brent.
Councilmember Bullock. And this will be a roll call vote, and we will start out with Councilmember Anderson.
Yes. Wait,
It's yes on the motion.
so we're at a double
Yes
negative
to
here?
deny.
It's yes on the motion to deny.
So the motion is to deny adopting the ordinance.
And I agree with that.
So you just need to say, yes on the motion to deny. That way it's clear to everybody.
Okay.
Yes on the motion to deny.
Councilmember Bullock.
Yes on the motion to deny.
Councilmember Jensen.
Yes on the motion to deny.
Councilman Lamone.
Yes, on the motion to deny.
And Councilmember Williams.
Yes on the motion to deny.
Okay, it's unanimous to deny the motion to change the zone in that. So we're finished with that one this evening, so.
I heard it mentioned, I just would like official direction. Would you like us to start the process of removing the senior overlay?
Yes.
Is that-
Yes.
Okay, we'll get that in motion.
Okay, that concludes two of our, we'll now move on to our public hearing on number C, a public hearing to receive public comment on the proposal to adjust the compensation of elected officials. The proposal shall adjust compensation of the mayor and 5 city council members.
Thank you. As we've been analyzing salaries for employees and taking a look at the compensation for our elected officials, in our research, the last time that at least we've been able to find anything was in the year 2000, so 22 years ago, the last time the compensation for our elected officials has been changed. So with that, we did some research as staff. We looked at some of our neighbors, like-sized cities. So we had 4 cities in Utah County that we compared against. That was American Fork, Springville, Lehigh, and Spanish Fork. These all provide health benefits and retirement benefits to their elected officials, so we wanted to compare apples to apples because we do provide that as well, and take a look at what their annual salaries are in regards to those other cities. As we looked at that, we did our analysis and figured out what the average was, so what I would just call the market. So we're not the high, we're not the low, we're right in the middle between those 4 communities, and proposed to the city council what that was, so that the city council could consider if they wanted to get their salary to the market range. That their salary would be for the mayor annually an increase of $10,095. For the city council annually an increase of $6,955. So recommendation of staff that the council should get their wages up to the market standard, and that's what we have proposed for you, City Council.
Council, you got any other questions for our city administrator?
No.
Thank you, Scott. That I will now take it back out to and open our public hearing to receive comment on this proposal.
My name is Mike Peterson. I've been a Pleasant Grove resident for probably over 30 years. I came to say I don't like the increase. The reason I don't like the increase is I own a couple companies. One of the biggest things that we do is determine our owner's compensation and also the compensation of our team members and staff. When we do that, we have a delicate balance between having our staff and team members look to us as being either taking too much money from the business or, oddly enough, they're usually not saying we take, not enough. So doing the math, I understand that there's been a market analysis done. However, if my math stands fairly close, I just want to speak to how that hourly rate, I think, breaks out. If you do city council every other week, you're 5 hours a week, you kick in another 5 hours on that week, you might do 10 hours that week, maybe 15. On the off weeks, you maybe pick up 10. So let's say you average 520 hours throughout the year. That means your hourly rate is about $13.85 for every hour worked. Your new proposal would be $27.22 an hour per worked. But that doesn't include the health compensation or the URS compensation. So my best guess, because I do health benefits at my companies, is the benefit probably is around $1,800 a month cost to the city. That's $21,600 a year. The URS is going to be $1,296 a year. So your total compensation currently is going to be about $30,000 or $57.88 an hour. Each council member under the new proposed plan will make $73.66 an hour. I can't speak to wages across the entire city. I can speak to wages inside what I know inside the public safety department. And I know a full-time police officer makes about $21 an hour. And a full-time firefighter makes less than that. As an honorary colonel and president of the organization, over a 2-year span, I raised $80,000 to buy things for the police department like bullets, because it's not in their budget. We bought cages for cars so that your suspects won't come over the seats. We bought things like lock boxes to hold the patrol rifles in the trunk. We put the sights on the rifles. We bought the radios because they were walking around with only radios on their bodies and not radios in their car. That's what you're taking. And I understand that saying, hey, this only cost the city $60,000 over a budget that is millions of dollars. But in my opinion, you're taking bullets out of guns. And you had an officer involved shooting 6 months ago where they used those bullets. And one 4 months before that, and they used those bullets. I think you're a little bit over the line, and I think the market number is inflated. It would make you guys the highest paid per hourly employees in the entire city. You'll make more money per hour than your city administrator, than your attorney, than your public works directors, than your rec guys. More money per hour for a part-time job, not even a full-time job. Thanks for your time.
John Johannesmeyer, but you get to hear from me twice. That's exciting. I thought this was a pretty big increase. I also find it very interesting how if the city council votes on their own increase, if you are going to do something like this, it's probably best to let the voters decide, because we're the ones that really elected you to represent us, and we feel like the money's coming from us. We should have a say on when you get compensated higher, almost doubling or close to doubling, and therefore I would recommend that you don't do this, and if you want to, put it out for a vote, and then we will decide how our money should be spent on our representatives. And I know you work hard. I get it. I really do. It's not an easy job, and I appreciate what you do. But please let us decide. Thank you.
Jim Adams, imagine my surprise when I get to speak twice. So, don't get me wrong, you guys deserve it. Everybody deserves a raise. You guys are getting calls in the middle of the night from residents, you guys are, you know, out at public events, you're doing this, you're doing that. Councilman Williams, he got a call from me that there was a homeless camp starting up out on State Street. I understand. But here's the deal. When my wife got in a car accident up here on 100 East and totaled 3 cars, none of you guys responded to it. When somebody tried to get in my house as I was standing at the front door and I called 911, I didn't see any of you guys there. I saw the fire department, I saw the police department. Those are the ones that protect us. You guys do great. Fantastic. Give yourself a raise. Let's match a raise what you matched the PD last year. Is that 3%? Something like that? Go ahead, give yourself 3%. 95%, 98%? Sorry, I'm really bad at math, but almost double? I respect every single one of you on this board, and I think that you guys understand that where this is coming from us out here. We get it, you guys need money, but this is a second thing. This is a part-time job. This is a service position. When you guys start getting shot at, or you guys start running into burning buildings, I'll give you triple. But until then, 3%, 4%, I'm all game.
Last call.
Peter Steele. I'm going to respectfully disagree with my fellow citizens on this one. So, first of all, 96% raise, yes. It's been 20-something years since the city has changed the compensation for the mayor and city council people, so, you know, maybe a 3% raise, 4% raise per year. Number two, I hope that my fellow citizens here are all in support of property tax increases. I agree that they're necessary. There are plenty of things the city needs to be spending money on, public safety, roads, everything. The only way we can do that is to raise our taxes on ourselves. And finally, the low pay for public officials limits the kind of people that can afford to run for office. So you can only be on the city council if you can already afford to take time off of your job or to have the kind of job that lets you be available 15 or 20 hours a week for public service. And that's great if you can do that, but most of the people in the city can't. And so by keeping the compensation low, you are severely limiting the number of people who have the opportunity to even think about public service. So I encourage you, you know, whatever the number is that you settle on, I do think it's time, along with a lot of other things, that that should see increases. I do think it's time to increase the compensation for the city council and the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wasn't planning on being a second time, but here I am. That last comment was intriguing to me, and so I guess I wanted to put forward an idea, because I agree, I think your service is important. We want to make sure that we entice the right type of people, right, that come and serve in these positions for sure. I personally think the increase is too much, and so I disagree with this particular motion or option to give you this type of an increase, but maybe we put it into the, I'm not sure, forgive me for not knowing, is it the bylaws or the constitution, whatever, of the city, at a certain rate that you get of the tax rate that comes from the city, that you get a certain percentage of that, and it's consistent, and so then if you raise that ability to get taxes, that you get a portion of that, and that goes to city council members. It's an incentive for you to build a better community because you get some of that back in your paycheck. I think that there's things that we can think about to build the infrastructure and put it in a bylaw, so then we have to say, well, we're going to increase our pay, and everybody comes and PCL increase rate for you as a city council and mayor. That's my recommendation and suggestion. Thank you.
Last call.
Mike Daniels. I've been in your positions and I've been in your shoes. I know how many hours are actually put in. You'd be hard pressed to find less than 20 to 30 hours a week. And when you start to do some of the things that we did when we were involved, like trying to approve the building that we're sitting in, it was probably closer to 50 to 60 hours per week. And that was with meetings and also meeting with individuals. The amount of money that we're talking about is pretty small, really. And I don't think any of you joined up for the money. I didn't even know there was compensation when I first ran for a city council position. I had a voter call me up and say, and how do you feel about receiving the amount of money that you get paid? And I said, what money? And so I was very surprised. And I think that the people that I've worked with here in these positions, you're not in it for the money. The concern that I have with doing nothing about giving a pay raise to those that are responsible for the entire operation that's going on here in the city, the growth and everything else. I don't know if it limits the people because of the money. If it does, then they're in it for the wrong reason, if they're coming for the money. But I do think that the council and the mayor does need to be compensated for their time. If you redo the math and you do it according to the number of hours that are actually put in, I think you might be making a whole lot less.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. We'll now close our public hearing and bring it back up to the council for some further discussion or a motion or an alternate motion. Any comment, council?
I will. So I have thank you, Mike Daniels. I work a real job, and 4 times today, for a long period of time, each time, I walked away from my real job so I could do my part-time job. I actually showed the owner of Ruth's Chris some property down in the Grove area, which I'm really excited about. I actually also left my family at my house while I came here tonight. And I'm sorry that Mike Peterson doesn't know how many hours we spend and what we're doing. This was a very, very hard decision for us to ask for more compensation. But we are working a lot of hours. Like Mike said, sometimes it's full-time, sometimes there are days where there's not so much, but there's always something that we are doing. I don't think we're being selfish. And we have given really good raises. We're giving more raises. We're trying to catch everybody up. We may not be as fast as we want, but as more growth happens, just to give you an idea of what we've done in the last 8 years is there were 400 empty acres in the Grove area. We have less than 20. So we've done a lot, and it's taken a lot of time out of our lives.
Well said. I remember a conversation that we had with the owner of Communal.
Yeah.
With the owners of different developments, Hale Center Theater.
Yeah.
All of those conversations, aptitude, business prowess, business ability, takes aptitude, and it takes time. I won't tell you my full-time daily rate, but it's more than $30 an hour, or $13 an hour, I think is what was the standard rate. I don't do this for money. Surely we don't do this for money. But we have to be able to attract people and stay up to the level of our competing cities. For heaven's sakes, this city has not seen, for public officials, any increase in 22 years. Our city deserves better. It deserves people that run, not for the money, because $14,000 for a city councilman is not significant in my opinion. But it will allow people the time and energy to run. Typically a campaign costs anywhere between $4,000 to $8,000. We have to be able to attract people that are business-minded, have business prowess, have business ability, can talk to business owners, can bring in economic development. And that, quite frankly, takes people that make more than $14,000 on a part-time job. That's all.
Sure, Mayor. I didn't run for, and we're gonna hear this, right? When you see this go down in the news with any city and they ask for a raise, you just wait, right? Wait for the soap opera to hit really hard, right? Because you know they're gonna take hits on it. I did it because I love this city. I've lived in the city for close to 32 years. I live right here in downtown. There's a reason why I do it. There's a reason why I walk through these doors with police and fire, is to understand what we need to do more for them. And it's to do it more without property taxes. We haven't increased property taxes. The only time we increased property taxes is when the citizens voted for these buildings to be done. You go back over 30 years, we haven't done it for our citizens. And we're trying to do what we can without doing that, right? Because we know that it's hard on the citizens to facilitate those needs. And so, again, it's hard. When we brought this up, we knew that, and I'm all for it, for citizens to get up and voice their concerns about it. Totally understand, right? I'm one of you. And I do this, and it's not 5 hours a week or 10 hours or 15. It's more than that. It's because I love this city, and I want to see it move to greater heights. And I think we're doing that for our city. That's it.
So there's a reason after 22 years, no elected body has done this, because nobody wants to. It's not popular. We look like the bad guy, no matter how much we do. I'm open to looking at a smaller increase. I do think something needs to be done after 22 years. I work more than 15 hours a week at my city council job. And I'll give you the and to imply otherwise is offensive to me. I think everyone up here does. But I'm happy to give you my husband's cell phone number if you want to talk to him about the time that's put in. To compare this to police and fire isn't fair. It's really not, because we worked hard and we do everything we can to support them. Are we behind? Yes, we are. We're behind in a lot of ways in our community. And we work hard. We are working hard and have to get them where they need to be. After taxes, I take home about $500 a month that I put into our medical expenses, because I have thousands of dollars at a deductible. I take home $0 every month for my paycheck from the city. You can verify that with our HR director, $0, so I can have a medical fund for our family. I'm grateful for the benefits, but I do have thousands of dollars in a deductible. As far as retirement, I think I've earned about $11,000 in retirement in 10 years, $1,000 a year. As been said, we're not doing this for the money, but at some point someone has to adjust the wages to get people to run. I'm not going to be here forever. I don't think anyone here is going to be here forever. But if we want to attract good people in the future, as has been said, we need to adjust the wages. I mean, it's almost embarrassing to ask the public, and Mr. Johannesmeyer, you're correct. that the people should have a say. It's your taxpayer money. But that's why we had a public hearing tonight, so we can invite the public to come down and get their thoughts on the matter. And I can tell you, if it went out for a vote, no one would vote for an increase. And again, that's why in 22 years, this has never been done. So at some point, we have to raise the amount. I'm open, as I said, to discussing a different amount, but we have to make those difficult decisions. And I'm open to discussing that, but to say otherwise, I don't necessarily think it's fair to do that. And I'm happy to sit down with any member of the public and walk through my schedule, daily, weekly, in the past 10 years, and let you know what I've done. And I apologize for being emotional about it, but it has been a lot of time. That's all.
Thank you.
I served for 28 years as a judge here in Pleasant Grove. I had my license to practice law, and after I retired from that job, I decided I was gonna go back to practicing law, which means that I would have been paid what I'm paid as a county attorney's, on this council after I'd worked 2.5 hours. So that's what I'm telling you. Now, you folks have all said, one gentleman came up and said, maybe we need to raise taxes. Do you know the last time we raised taxes in Pleasant Grove? We can't find the date. And we've gone back. We continue to keep the tax rate exactly what it's always been. Because whenever you start talking about raising property taxes, then everybody screams, I'm on a fixed income, I can't afford it. So that's something we need to take a look at. But this is the first step, and if it's not us, who's going to do it? Apparently, councils in past have said this is not a topic, but we're going to face it here head on.
Okay, council. No other comments. I think you guys have said it well, and it's been a long time. I will address one thing on the taxes. We did raise taxes to property taxes on a GO bond for this building, which was a painful thing for our entire city. But we're glad we did it, and we have a new fire station. But as far as raising taxes for operating in our city, we have not done that. We've always lowered our tax rate to, even though our assessments have gone up, but our tax rate stays the same. But anyway, with that, do we have a motion, or do you want to table this?
I
Whatever the
don't
council
think
wants to do.
I don't think it's emotionable, right? How's that work, Scott?
You're not going to take a motion on it now. You've held the public hearing. The first action item on the next section of the agenda is to either approve or table or deny the ordinance that changes your salary. So there's not really anything for you to do right this second. You need to move into the action items and take action on that.
My proposal would be to table it to another meeting, another discussion, in which we could review an increase that isn't as large as we have presented, and that maybe it's phased over several years, but that we just don't do this large of an increase all at once.
Okay, we'll address that on our next.
Yeah, sorry, let's get to item 10A,
Yes,
and then.
I was jumping again, I apologize. There's another motion there, so anyway. So we've completed our public hearings for this evening, and appreciate all those who have come. We wish you would come and join us more often. We meet every first and third Tuesdays every month, and usually there's no one here. So anyway, but usually we don't have exciting things like we're talking about tonight, so I'm.
Mike Daniels is actually in disbelief right now.
And Mayor, I
This is
apologize.
like Mike's old days here, so anyway, that's what we do. And we'll now move on to our action items ready for vote this evening. And our first one is 10A, to consider for adoption ordinance 2022-10, providing for an increase in the compensation of elected officials of Pleasant Grove City and providing an effective date.
Mayor,
City
I,
Administrator.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, there's not a whole lot more for me to say. I would just say this, council, in my opinion, as the administrator, the recommendation from staff. Sorry, I'll speak a little better. The recommendation from staff is that we get you compensated according to the market value. That was the recommendation from us. So just, that's my 2 cents on the issue.
Okay, and I'll chime into that a little bit here too, just as my role as mayor, and hey, I don't need an increase, but I'm just worried about the next one who sits in this seat after I leave. And also that, and I know, Sid, you've mentioned maybe we phase this in over some years, but that's really, you either get caught up now or we're always playing catch-up on.
I think that's
what
my
we're
fear.
doing.
I think that's my fear is if we table this or phase it in, right now we're proposing, or the staff is proposing, that we get to market rate. And I think we need to get to market rate in order to effectively help the city in future years.
I agree with you. Any other comments, council? Any other ideas? If not, let's just go with the motion that's before us and see where we end up here. Ask for a motion on ordinance number 2022-10.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-10, providing for an increase in the compensation of elected officials of Pleasant Grove City and providing for an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Williams, a second by Councilmember Bullock. This will be a roll call vote, and we'll start out with Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock,
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone,
Yes.
and Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. We'll now move on to our next action item this evening, 10B, to consider for approval a proclamation proclaiming that Pleasant Grove City supports Restore the G project. And our city administrator, we've talked about it
Well,
earlier.
we covered this in our work session. I just want to add, if you look at the proclamation, Tina has put some whereas clauses in that talk about the history of 1920, when the senior class of Pleasant Grove High School initially decided to put the G on the mountain, and how it's become a historical community fixture, and that we are supportive of us as a city to see the G restored, and also making notice of the kickoff event Wednesday, March 9th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. at the band practice field at Pleasant Grove High School. So that is all part of the proclamation.
Okay, any questions? I'll make one comment. Publicly here, this has come about because of, there was a project to permanently light the G with LEDs, so it didn't have to, so it'd be lit all the time, but to ease that problem. And in that, through discussions, we decided, well, it's time to redo that. And the proposal that we have that's going forward and being engineered on right now is to replace the white aluminum that's been woven into the, I call it hog wire up there, to take that aluminum out and replace that with concrete that would be painted after the fact there. So we're in process of, so it will be a complete concrete structure, and that's what our plan is going forward here for this year. So with that, I ask for a motion to consider this proclamation for.
Mayor, I make a motion for approval of a proclamation proclaiming that Pleasant Grove City supports Restore the G project.
And I second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Jensen, second by Councilmember Anderson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now ask go to 10C, consider for approval 11-lot final subdivision plat called Prisberry Cove Plat A on property located approximately 1620 north, 1400 west in the R1-12 single-family residential zone, Northfield neighborhood. And Director Cardenas.
I just want to remind the council, we do have our Public Works interviews this evening, so we were supposed to start at 7:30. We do need to finish the agenda, so we are, just as a reminder, we don't want to necessarily skip over anything and make sure all the information is clear, but just.
We don't have Marty here right now, so we're good.
Well, we should be okay.
Marty told me I have to wear his shoes. So here you go. What we have right here, Council, Mayor, it's a new subdivision in the recently approved R112 zone. The subdivision is for 11 lots. The reality is that only 10 new lots were created. So these lots are the new one, but includes the church building and its own parcel that it was irregular subdivided in the past. So that's why it's 11 lots. But it's 10 brand new lots plus the church lot. That makes us 11 lots. This is in the R12 zone, and every lot is at least 12,000 square feet, except this one, which is 10, but this one is 14. So it does get some lot size averaging. Every lot meets with the requirements of the zone. And the Planning Commission for recommendation of approval, a unanimous recommendation of approval for the subdivision.
Council, any questions? If not, ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve 11-lot final subdivision plot called Prisberry Cove Plat A on property located at 1620 north, 1400 west in the R112 zone.
We have a motion by Councilmember Williams.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Jensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to 10D, consider for approval a site plan for a 5-story office building on property located at 1333 South Valley Grove Way in the Grove Zone, Interchange Subdistrict, Sam White Lanes neighborhood. St. John's Property is the applicant. Director.
Thank you, Mayor. So this image that I have right here is a little, it's old. So we have one tower right here, and we have a second tower right here, and this is the third tower that we have in this quadrant of the city between Valley Grove Way and the or neighboring city of Linden. So again, it's gonna be the third tower. It's a 5-story tower. It's pretty similar to the ones that, yeah, exactly. It's exactly similar to what already exists. The total square footage is 145,000 square feet. That's the area. The parking meets the requirements. It actually oversees, so it goes a little beyond what it requires. It requires 485, and it gives 550 parking stalls. So it meets all the requirements from the code. Landscape and open spaces are met. This item went to the Planning Commission, also received a unanimous recommendation of approval, and it received the recommendation of approval from the Design Review Board as the materials and colors of the tower meet the requirements of the zone and are similar to the surroundings.
Hey, thank you, Danny. Is there any questions for the director?
Nope.
Not a motion, please.
Mayor, I make a motion for approval of site plan for a 5-story office building on property located at 1333 South Valley Grove Way in the Grove Zone, Interchange Subdistrict.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Jensen.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Bullock. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now move to 10E, to consider approval of 5-lot final subdivision plat called Ashland Lane Plat A on property located approximately 135 north, 1400 east in the R1-12 single-family residential zone, Grove Creek and Battle Creek neighborhoods. And under Spencer Shumway is the applicant and director.
Mayor, Council, this is another residential subdivision. It's a flag lot subdivision, but this is a subdivision that has 3 base lots. So lot 1 has frontage on 1400, the same as lot 4 and lot 5. And then we have a common stem for lot 2 and lot 3. This item already went through a public hearing at the Planning Commission. It received a unanimous recommendation of approval. Every lot meets the requirements of the zone and exceeds it. There's no averaging at this point. And as far as staff is concerned, setbacks and everything else meets the requirements for the zone.
Thank you, Daniel. Is there any more questions for the director?
Nope.
If not, ask for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve a 5-lot final subdivision plat called Ashland Lane Plat A, as read previously.
And we have a motion by Councilmember Anderson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Jensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I'll go down to 10F, consider for adoption ordinance 2022-11, amending Title 7, Chapter 3, Section 3, residential define, and Section 14, permits required for burial,
Disinterment.
disinterments, and refining and definition of resident and prohibiting double deep disinterments and providing for effective date. We've talked about this
Yeah,
previously in
unless
our,
there's any questions, it's ready
any
for vote.
questions on this, Ken?
Nope. Nope.
With that, I'd ask for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion for adoption of ordinance 2022-11, amending Title 7, Chapter 3, Section 3, definition of resident and prohibiting double deep disinterment and providing for an effective date.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jensen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. And this will be a roll call vote, and we will start out with Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock.
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone.
Yes.
And Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. We'll now move on to 10G, to consider for adoption Resolution 2022-014, amending the Pleasant Grove Cemetery Statement of Policy, providing for technical updates, adding a headstone inspection fee, and refining the definition of resident and prohibiting double deep disinterments and providing for an effective date.
Any questions? We reviewed this as well in work session. Is there any questions?
If not, I ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-014. That's the one we're on. That's the double D.
No, it's,
No,
yeah,
no.
014.
Yeah, 014.
You're correct.
Amending the Pleasant Grove Cemetery Statement of Policy, providing for technical updates, adding headstone inspection fee, and redefining the definition of resident, prohibiting double deep disinterment, and providing for new timelines and notifying burial notices and headstone settings and providing for an effective date.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Williams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lamone. And it'll be a roll call vote. We'll go the other direction this time with, start out with Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone.
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. Now move on to 10H. To consider for authorizing the mayor to sign a permit to exceed noise restrictions for the Hydro Resources Rocky Mountain Incorporated for the purpose of construction of the Boulevard well, specifically drilling and the related tasks of installing the well. And our city administrator, is there any other question? We went over this in our work session.
Okay, we're ready
Nope.
for a motion.
If we have a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve as read by you.
Okay, we have a motion. And
You have to say that we're authorizing
I
him.
think it's not, okay.
Okay, I make a
Have a
motion that
motion.
we
Do I
are
have a second?
authorizing the mayor as read by the mayor.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Anderson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say, motion carries. Thank you. We'll do our final item to vote on this evening. I, to consider for awarding Morgan Pavement Maintenance Crack Seal Services 2022-2025 bid with the proposed unit price of $2,711.70 per ton, and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of award, authorize the mayor to sign the notice to proceed, an agreement upon receipt and approval of the final contract documents. We discussed this in our work session also and brought that back. Is there any other questions on it? If not, I need a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we award Morgan Pavement Maintenance Crack Seal Services, as read by you.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Anderson. Do I have a
Second.
second? Second by Councilmember Jensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That concludes our items this night, and we've discussed all over the business, and we do have need for our public hearing this evening.
Executive
I mean, a
session.
closed session. We've had enough public hearings. Let me get my card.
Do you know how many tons it's gonna be? Okay. Okay.
However, on that, that's a 3-year agreement, so it's 2022, 2023, and 2024. I think putting 2025 through 2025 makes it a 4-year agreement.
We'll make that amendment in the.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, John. We do have need for a closed meeting this evening, a closed meeting to discuss the character, the professional competence, or the physical or mental health of an individual.
I made the motion that we enter into executive session as read by the mayor.
We have a motion by Councilmember Lamone. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember,
Bullock.
is it Jensen or?
Is this to go into our interviews, or is this after? I think this is after our interview. Okay, all right.
Closed session.
All right, sorry.
Okay. To go in, and this is for those of the public who are here, we're going in closed session we have 3 applicants for our new Public Works Director that we're interviewing this evening. And then when we finish those, we will reconvene as our council and adjourn from that. No other public business will be conducted this evening. So I ask for a motion, and we have a second. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are